Hey, thanks for joining me right here at Dream Park. What a wonderful, wonderful place. And this park actually has some meaning for not only me and why we chose this, but it's one of those parks where kids of all ages, whether they're old or young, can play together. Kids from different neighborhoods can play together. Kids that side by side abilities and interests can play together and learn together and actually dream their future. It's like democracy in action for little kids, so I love it. Anyway, I'm Tony Evers, and I'm running for governor of this great state of Wisconsin. And I'm running first and foremost because I love this state. I've lived here my entire life. I'm running because I've always believed that what's best for our kids translates into what's best for our communities, best for our economy, and frankly, best for our democracy. And with the problems and divisions facing our state today and over the last 8 years, how could I not run? As state superintendent, I've seen firsthand how Scott Walker's policies have made it tougher for all public schools, K through 20, and the families they serve to play a vital role in our society. Walker raided public education and to fund tax cuts for wealthy and big corporations. And there's some downsides to this, obviously. Larger class sizes, fewer support staff, and of course, a looming dramatic shortage in teachers. For the first time in my recollection, Wisconsin went from a top 10 state for resources that we spend on our kids to below the national average. I don't believe we should be there, folks. I've watched voters in hundreds of school districts across Wisconsin vote to raise their own taxes because Walker's policies had not given them the resources they need to do the job. Now, I want that to sink in just for a few minutes. Think about that. Scott Walker has forced almost 1 million people to raise their own taxes in the last 3 elections. And these are local people, Democrats, independents, and Republicans alike, who get it. The next generation is our future, and they voted for their future. But it gets worse. I see these things every day. Too many kids come to school hungry because their parents can't make ends meet. And I'd encourage you, if you challenge that, go talk to any food service worker that works in our public schools on any Monday and ask them how those kids look on Monday in the lunch line. They're suffering from not having enough food during the weekend. It's not that their parents chose that option. They've had 1 or 2 jobs. They just can't make ends meet. Kids don't get enough to eat. They come to school on Monday hungry. Extraordinary in the state of Wisconsin. Too many kids find it harder to concentrate on their studies because their families have been devastated by opioids. Too many kids brush their teeth with water that is as toxic or more toxic than the water that was found in Flint, Michigan. And of course, too many kids bring toxic language that they hear on TV onto our playgrounds. As a lifelong educator, I understand the best way to prepare kids for 21st century jobs and bring those jobs to Wisconsin is to build a skilled workforce by investing in our schools. Investing in schools and investing in people will bring jobs to Wisconsin. If we invest in public education, I'm talking K through 12, technical colleges, and a university system, new jobs and industries will come. And they'll come without having to write a $1 billion check to foreign corporations. I am committed to building an economy that works for us all. The top performing states have managed to do this by investing in their citizens and their workforce. Now we'll take you down the road a bit to Epic, and I think pointing that way will get there. Just outside of Verona. They invested in Wisconsin because we already had a talented workforce, and they did this all with $9 million of City of Verona investment, not $3 billion. And EPIC has created jobs, almost 10,000 jobs, 9 to 10,000 jobs. It's on a campus that is almost off the grid as far as its electricity and use of utilities. All that for a $9 million investment by the City of Verona, which, when returned earlier with interest, helped fund and make their public library system better, and now is helping to build a new high school. There's a huge difference here, isn't there? Now, as a governor, I am committed to seeking solutions rather than seeking out arguments, and that takes leadership. Teddy Roosevelt said, who I really admire as a president and a human being, very complex one, I will say, but he said, no one cares how much you know unless they know how much you care. The word comes down to empathy. I try to live this every single day of my life, and I would argue that's in stark contrast to the divide and conquer mode of the last 8 years. I have led large organizations, schools, districts, state agencies responsible for 70,000 kids and 70,000 educators and 860,000 public school kids around the state. I've had an opportunity over the last year to lead a resurgence in career and technical education in our K through 12 system that is producing kids that are college and career ready. And really an important piece to me is I've also worked with our tribal nations to increase graduation rates among American Indian kids to an all-time high. Think about that. Now let's face it, the next governor, who will be me, has a tough job on their hands. 8 years of stagnation is unacceptable. So let's check the facts. Wages and employment fell sharply in our manufacturing sector in 2016, and that followed the largest corporate tax cut of all time. That was supposed to fix it, as I remember. Corporate tax cut, trickled down, right, to people that work in our factories. Didn't work that way. Scott Walker has failed Wisconsin. Instead of seeking solutions, he's gone running for president. He's gone from running for president to defending a president who disgusts and embarrasses many of us. Neither of these are acceptable. So it's time for real change, and I can beat Scott Walker and bring this change from day one. Let's talk about health care. I'll find a solution for a health care system that works for all of us, including those that are chronically ill and working families. I'll ensure that people with pre-existing conditions are still covered if Donald Trump succeeds in messing around with the Affordable Care Act. And I will stand up to him in his cuts to Medicaid. And think of it, speaking of Medicaid, over 30% of our rural schools, our rural kids, are covered in some fashion by Medicaid. Coverage that is threatened by some of the really bad ideas coming out of the White House. And for those living in northern Wisconsin, if you want to find a mental health provider, don't spend any time worrying about it. There are none in northern Wisconsin. And finally, I will never turn down any help that will bring better health care to our citizens. I will not stand for this. So I've spent my career advocating for kids. Public education is one of the last and frankly the best great equalizers. It creates great opportunities for all. And not only does it create great adults, it is a workforce development tool. As I said before, jobs follow people. We work with people first, train them, and jobs will come. It's what enables our kids to fulfill their dreams by becoming farmers and doctors and teachers, nursing assistants, and engineers. And frankly, what's good for kids is good for our future, and most importantly for me, our democracy. So I am a Democrat, and I am a proud Democrat. I'm a progressive, and I'm a proud progressive. I believe in equal. I believe that all of us are equal, regardless of our race, our faith, our upbringing, or who we love. I support a woman's right to make decisions about her own body, and I support the work of organizations like Planned Parenthood, which provide preventive care, cancer screening, and contraceptives to tens of thousands of women in Wisconsin. And I believe in climate change. I believe in the scientists in the state of Wisconsin, and I believe they are correct when they say it's one of the greatest threats that we have as a state. I oppose Act 10, and I was at the Capitol with my teacher colleagues when we protested Act 10. It was a bad choice, and it had bad results. But once I'm governor, I will treat workers with respect and dignity and give them a voice to make our public institutions strong again. And I will never sacrifice these progressive values. And I also believe that we're stronger when we work together. I believe many Republicans do sincerely want to help our state, and I'll always listen to them for their ideas in solving our problems. I won 3 statewide elections by building coalitions of Democrats and independents and Republicans because they know that I honor and respect my political opponents and their ideals and their positions. And I've worked across party lines my entire life to get things done. Now, over the past few weeks, we've seen the consequences of having leaders who seek to divide us rather than bring us together. Some people have actually gotten hurt and killed. Families and friends are pitted against each other, and people, frankly, are scared. Make no mistake about this, folks. Donald Trump is using the same playbook Scott Walker has been using in Wisconsin for years to create divisions and pit people against each other, and we know it's called divide and conquer. The targets of their efforts are different, but their tactics are the same. We must be clear, Trump and Walker are not a symptom of our divisions, they are the cause. Enough is enough. When I'm elected governor of the state, the politics of division will end on day one. So I'm a small town guy, born in Plymouth, the cheese capital of the world, if anybody wants to know, and met my wife Kathy there in kindergarten. I've lived across the state with my 3 children, and Kathy living and working in Baraboo and Tomah and Oakfield and Oshkosh, Amarillo, and Verona. My kids went to 3 school districts. Did they impact you, Aaron, going to 3 school districts? No. Went to 3 school districts, and as a community members, we were always welcomed by the communities we lived in. It's this culture of acceptance that we find all across the state that's epitomized by what's behind me. That culture of acceptance, not divide and conquer, is part of what makes Wisconsin special. So I'm jazzed about our future, and I'm telling you right now, we must overcome these divisions, which frankly strangle our innovations and is also strangling our ability to keep millennials in Wisconsin or to bring them to Wisconsin. From the days of Bob La Follette, Wisconsin has led the nation by the values we share, our hard-working attitude, roll-up-the-sleeves attitude toward overcoming challenges, seeking solutions, not arguments. With the darkness coming out of Washington, it's time for Wisconsin to lead again. I'm going to give you a quote. It's from a German who wrote this in the mid-1860s. He said this: "Divide and conquer the politician cries. Unite and lead are watchwords of the wise. It's time to lead again. It's time to dream again. And by God, it better be time to be wise again. Thank you so much for being here today. I look forward to your support.